Hello YouTube and welcome back to a new market update from my side. Last week I talked about the important 25% order book depth and explained why I'm still bearish on BTC. Today I'm going to explain what I expect next for the coming week and why the Venezuela conflict could have an important impact on the stocks and at the specific also at BTC. So now let's jump into the charts and I will explain you everything else. Trump attacked Venezuela. BTC can't overcome the 90k control point and also stocks losing momentum because of profit taking at the MAC 7s. Welcome to a new market update from my side. So here we can see the current reaction from this attack. We can see BTC dropped since the attack over 1.1%. Maduro, the president of Venezuela, flew out of the country with his wife. But more interestingly will be the press conference at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump, who will talk about the current environment, what he attacked, and more interestingly will be if there are more attacks and what is coming next, because this will have a very important and very significant impact on the general markets. So overall, first to say it again, from Trump, such impressives into a country with strikes or military action is never bullish for the market. So we should stay aware what Trump is saying tonight, because if there is more to come, we could see a bearish Monday price action because stocks, oil, gold, the dollar index need to price in these actions. So this will be very, very interesting what we will hear today and how the markets will react on Monday when the market is open again. So first of all, Trump attacked Venezuela, and it will be very interesting what he's saying in this interview because it will have a very high impact on the markets on Monday. We are in general seeing very fragile market moves at the stock market because we pushed the whole last year since the tariff crash, and now we could enter again a very interesting phase when Trump is striking Venezuela, which has a very huge impact on the oil prices and so therefore also on the stock market. So it will be very interesting. If we see more today, I will definitely keep you updated in 50 minutes. So keep an eye on this macro channel. And when the video came out, I will definitely put the link of the article of the press conference below this where I explained it, what happened. But now let's jump into BTC and I explain you what I expect next. First of all, as the last few weeks, we can see here again the 25% order book depth at the BTC chart. And I can therefore directly say to you, something has changed, but it's not really a bullish sign. And I will now explain you what has changed. We can see here into the 80k, there are more new bids, which is also had an impact on 25% order book, which means that we here pushed higher again because market makers pushed more spot bids below us, and therefore also 25% order book depth is rising again, which is why I was last week very bearish. But the problem is still that during this upwards move, we can see here, if we go into a lower time frame, that the other bids are still disappearing. So we can see every time when we get a wick below us, the bids are disappearing, and we can see over and over again when we're going higher and higher, more small bids are coming in, pushing the price higher, but really big bids that's supporting a bottom are after the push away. So this will be very interesting if we see another drop at BTC, if they are holding or also disappearing like the other ones here. So this will be very interesting because if they're disappearing, it means that we could go lower because there are no really ground below us. So there is nothing that is supporting us. So these bids are very interesting and very important for me, and it depends on it if we're going lower into the 75k or we may see a double bottom, because maybe we're seeing some bearish reaction because of the Venezuela conflict and we're dropping here into those bids and could liquidate these lows, pushing into the bids, gaining more bullish power again. In general, more market participants went into the markets, and after this one we would gain again. This would see a double bottom. So if the bids are still there, I can well imagine that we may see something like a double bottom. If they're disappearing, we will definitely go into the 75k region. So this will be very, very interesting for me. Also interesting to notice that we are again creating yeah, many asks above us. So since the last push yesterday, we see that in the 92k and in the 94k many new asks came in. So basically when we are going here now into the higher time frame chart, so we are still below the 90k control point, which means the plan is still the same, but we can see that market participants, in general bears, are still protecting this resistance really clear. I mean, we broke above this range because we liquidated these highs, but overall it was just a week before we went lower again. So also here it will be very interesting if Venezuela will have a bearish impressive or not, because if yes, we'll go definitely lower into these bids if they hold or not. So, but for me, overall, we're still below the 90k. We have more asks above us. In general, bids are playing with market participants. And the most important part that I will explain now is that total open interest rose by over $5 billion since yesterday. And the big problem is here that this cash primarily went into altcoins. As we can see here, this is the daily sector performance from the crypto market. And we can see here that the meme coin sector has, over the yesterday's move, this was the top performer. So in general, the meme coin sector made around plus 10% at average meme coin. And I also see Pepe or other altcoins made over 20%, which means the cash from the total open interest, which rise over the last 2 days, went primarily into altcoins. So we're basically having the same execution like last few times when we saw huge pumps like at Starknet, at Filecoin, and at Render or any other examples. We saw a huge pump at these altcoins, but BTC saw a resistance point. So basically we're seeing the same again. BTC can't overclaim the 90k, while market participants are flowing their money into specific very high volatile altcoins, and even meme coins are pumping now, which is not a really bullish sign, because we're seeing now liquidity and market participants pushing it directly into meme coins, which it indicates for me that they are revenge trading and want to gain their losses back, which was the downtrend over the last few weeks. So overall, this is not a bullish sign. As already said in the last few weeks and months, we need to see a sustainable bottom at BTC before altcoins should see a really sustainable run. So BTC is not above the 90k control point. We are seeing meme coins running, which didn't see since months such upwards moves. I mean, also Naira USDT has the same open interest level like in August 2024, which means market participants are going with insane high leverage into those meme coins because they want to gain fast money. And this is not a bullish sign. So for me, this pump at the altcoins and in general BTC is just another trap from the market makers, a specific because today announced Trump they will attack Venezuela, which has not a really bullish impact. And also very, very important to note is that the stocks, the SPX 500 lost their importance $6,880 level again. So basically at the first day after New Year, where we saw a normal volatile bank day, we lost this level again. This was because of general max 7 profit taking. So we saw in basically, I can show you here the list. Yesterday Tesla minus 2.6%, Microsoft 2.2 minus percent, and also Meta with minus 1.5%. So only Nvidia and Google saw positive data, which was also because the SPX pulled also further down. So now it will be interesting for me. Can we reclaim it next week with more volatile moves because of the macro events, which I will go later more in detail, or we see a further drop into the short-term CTA sell pressure level, the 6,745 level, and there will be interesting, are we dipping below and see some CTA sell pressure level, or we can hold this and see another pump into the $6,880 level. So basically now stocks are still more bearish because we lost the important support point at the first trading day. This is not really a bullish sign, to be honest. And we saw tonight the attack on Venezuela, which is also not, as already said, a bullish sign for the stock market. So for me, my next target will be also here, this level, because I don't think this press conference will be really bullish, to be honest. So this level will be my next target. And BTC is still coupled with the stock market when it's go down. So for me, this target is also here, bearish for BTC, which means we are not above the 90k, stocks also bearish and we're seeing meme coins running, this doesn't match. So for me, as already said, I'm shorting these, and because we're seeing more bearish pressure. The press conference will still be very important, because when we're seeing more sell pressure on Monday, we will go faster into this level, and so you'll see the reaction if we can see a further sell-off, because sell pressure CTAs will also activate when we lose this level, or we can hold it again and seeing another retest into $6,880. So overall, we didn't see a year-end rally. I mean, we saw a small all-time high before we went lower again, but with this that we lost on the first day after New Year, this level already, it will be hard, to be honest, that we gain more bullish momentum, as we already said, because of the Venezuela conflict. So for me, I'm still more bearish at BTC, at these stocks, and above all, also on Ethereum. Also here, we saw a significant bounce at the high time frame support. I mean, we went over, since the bottom, over 10%. I mean, BTC is still below the 90K control point. So also here, I expect another drop further down. I can only really see a sustainable bounce from Ethereum also only when BTC found a sustainable bottom. Also important for BTC is that we created a new CME gap, which is also very important when we took a closer look at the liquidation heat map. We can see we created a new CME gap during the New Year bank holiday. So on 1st on January, we saw a pump from BTC primarily because of market participants bet on a year-end rally and was therefore more bullish and entered with high leverage, as already said, in meme coins and other stuff like BTC. So we have created a new CME gap, which is also in the 88K area. When we took now a closer look at the heat map, we can see on the right side here that here is the CME gap. I will put it in. Here is the CME gap, and below us there are many long liquidations. As we can see here on the high time frame, these kind of long liquidations are currently bigger than the short liquidations in the 92K area, which means in the last week, since the last update, many new longs went into the markets. This is also not really a bullish sign, because the CME gap will be filled. The question is when, yes, but when we can't overclaim the 90K control point, the next target is lower, and lower is the CME gap and more long liquidations. So for me, this is also not a bullish sign for the general markets, and needs to be aware of it. If we drop into the CME gap, the next target will be definitely the long liquidations below us. So basically, I'm still more bearish. It will be important if we can hold these bids or not. If yes, I can well imagine that we're creating here a double bottom with the bottom of the 80K area and bouncing back. If the bids disappear, the next target will be the 75K region. So this will be very, very important for me, and this is my plan for the coming week. Next week, it will be also very, very important, the general weekly economy calendar. Next week, the focus is definitely on the labor market. And as I already explained in the last few weeks, the Fed is now eyeing more on the labor market instead of the inflation, because the inflation is in control and the labor market cracking down. So it will be very important the Friday. So we have the average hour earnings, the NFP data, and the unemployment rate. Also important will be the first day with the unemployment claims. After last week's lowest unemployment claims since 1966, it will be important in next week if this was just a seasonal outbreak because of Christmas and New Year or not. So this next week is primarily focused on labor market. We have very big reactions because also of the Venezuela conflict. So it will be very, very interesting how this will develop, because if we're seeing some more cracking downs in the unemployment rates and in the general labor market with the NFP and also the ADP data, we may see further rate cuts in the nearest time, because the Fed has now the inflation in control, and with a cracking labor market, it's more possible for the Fed to see further rate cuts. I mean, the last rate cuts is now priced in for June. And if now already the labor market is cracking down, we could see further rate cuts in the nearest time. So this is also a very impact on the markets if we see further rate cuts in nearest time or not. Because this will also have an impact on the markets if they are pricing in a nearer rate cut or not. But overall, this is only on Friday, so first days it will be interesting how the Venezuela conflict will end up, if we can hold these levels at the stock market. As already said, can we reclaim it on Monday, Tuesday or not? And after this one, it will be interesting first day on Friday with the labor market data. Are we cracking already in the unemployment claims? and how is the NFP and unemployment rate developing. So if the market is pricing in a rate cut or not, this has also impact on the stocks, on the metals, because of the general metal rally in the last few weeks, if we're seeing a stronger Dixie or not. So next week will be very important, and this will be one of the most important weeks on January. That's it for today's 50-minute market update. If you don't want to miss updates like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm really hyped for the coming week, how the stocks will perform at Monday at the market open after the Venezuela conflict come out, and above all, the very important macro events on Thursday and Friday. I will keep you updated as always, and we will see you soon next week with a new market update. See you soon.